Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Rogue Mage, the new Gwent single-player game. Last time we unfortunately suffered our first loss, but of course, this is a roguelike game, and that's part of the game. So we'll see if we can bounce back today. Let's hop back into the laboratory. And we have started to, of course, unlock some more stuffs of various varieties, both spells, cards, and treasures, and all that. So there's some question as to whether we want to try to go with the same type of archetype for our next run, or if we want to try to mix it up a little bit. However, I think that what we've started to see is the most noticeable reason, or the most significant reason, for us to go in one direction versus the other may be that as we go on, of course, we'll continue to unlock additional cards. Thus far, on the early stages of the game, most of the cards that we immediately have access to and the ones that we unlock on the earlier end are ones that support a more boosting-centric archetype, the bulwark deck, so to speak, that tends to be most in line with the Northern Realms from Gwent multiplayer. However, as time goes on, yes, we'll unlock more cards, true, which is a good thing in some ways. However, in other ways, it's actually a bad thing, because if you're trying to use one specific archetype, having access to additional cards that do not necessarily play into that archetype means that it's a higher probability that you get those cards that don't synergize, and then, you know, when we're, say, for example, adding a new card to our deck, there's what used to be maybe a 75% chance, pretty darn good, that we're going to get a card that helps us. Whereas now it might be more of a 50-50 where, I mean, yeah, there might still be some good cards that are available to us, but at the same time, are they gonna synergize as well as some of the other cards that more naturally fit in with a boost-centric deck? Maybe not. So for that reason, I think we might do one more run here with the Bulwark deck, at least for the time being, and then after that, once we've unlocked a little more of the more, I think, what will be damaging enemies and possibly even self-damage cards, then we might shift gears over to the other archetype and see what that's all about. So that's one thing to consider. The other thing is that I did also have a bit of a silly idea with something we could do with our spell selections on a later occasion as well. Probably more of a meme, which, you know, maybe we'll hold off before we go that route, but I am intrigued by a certain idea here, so we'll hold off on that. Let's hop in for our next run. So yeah, we could either go Bulwark, bolster allies, and stand strong against the Throngs. That's what I'm thinking we'll do here, because again, as we start to unlock more cards that tend to synergize more with these other types of decks, then that means that, well, you know, there's a lower probability that we're gonna get the cards that work with this, and also we have not yet unlocked, I think, all the cards that are going to work best with Savage Fury. So if we can get a little bit further and gain access to a few more of those, then I think Savage Fury will be much more likely for us to succeed with that. So I think we'll wait on this one. Unleash storms upon your foes, paint rivers with their blood. Yeah, so this basically boosting damage. Let's stick with the boost for now. And the question in that case becomes, are we building around Reynard or are we building around Visigoda now? Initially we went with Reynard. He's of course our starting key card, but we did unlock Visigoda and we used him last time. We, of course, succeeded with Reynard. We did not succeed with Visigoda. Not necessarily sure that's because of Reynard or Visigoda. In some ways, I think you could make a case that Visigoda was more effective for us than Reynard was in our previous, or 2 runs ago. Because, well, in both cases, I think we upgraded them once. We had the choice of upgrading Visigoda twice, although I passed on the first time. I think that was probably not something I should have done, because I undersold how significant the upgrade was. So I think I'm still leaning toward Visigoda here. And then we can't modify our starting deck at all, I don't think. Wait, it's not letting me take stuff out here? Yeah. Okay, that would be interesting if we could, though. I mean, at least, I suppose the major thing is the Bulwark versus, I already forget the name of the other one, but I guess you can't further tweak them beyond that, otherwise there just wouldn't be much of a reason to have those starting decks to choose from. But in terms of our spells to choose between, so yes, I did have an idea for kind of a silly way we could go with this stuff, but I think it's not very likely to succeed because it's basically a RNG maximization run in which you could get extremely lucky and succeed. You could get not so lucky and fail utterly. So I think we'll hold off on that for the time being. Maybe if, you know, we're looking for just a quick, not so serious run, then we'll give that a shot, but not at the moment, I don't think. I think we'll go for a more straightforward one this time around. It's also a thing that I'm thinking of is probably objectively less efficient than some other things that are more straightforward. So, I mean, Thunder Cleanse and Portal is really well rounded, and that's part of the reason why I do like them. You could maybe make the case for swapping out Thunder for something like Thunderstorm, where it costs the same amount. On the high end, it does have the potential for more damage, but it's less targeted, so if there's one specific unit that you really need to get rid of, then Thunder is better at that, whereas if you're just trying to outscore your opponent, you don't care who you're hitting, who you're not hitting, then Thunderstorm would be better in that case, or at least has the potential to be better. So I think we still stick with this. And this might also synergize better with some of the other decks that we unlock later on. That's also something to consider, but for now, I think this makes the most sense. Then for potions, I mean, energy has been pretty key for us, so I do like having the additional 25, and I think that is what we started with even on our first run, before we knew that we had unlocked this flask. So it's not like this is really a bonus 25, or at least it doesn't feel like it's a bonus 25 as much as it feels more like this is taking away 25 energy and instead replacing that with the 3 additional mulligans, which is a lot, but I feel like that's so many additional mulligans that that's going to be overkill more often than not, so I think we'll stick with this. And we'll start the run. This time around, I'm thinking because we've done a few runs already with this archetype, we might try to go a little bit quicker, so we have a general sense as to what we're looking for with all the various cards. Oh, it's a different boss, it seems. It definitely is. Okay, I wasn't sure if that was going to be the case. I wasn't sure if it was going to be a matter of, basically, you always have the same final boss until you beat it. Obviously, all the stuff leading up to it would change from one run to the next. But I was kind of expecting the fiery dude. This looks like more of a poisony bug monster thing. Oh, and also, looking at the... Wow! Okay, we were also wondering how many elite battles would be possible to encounter in a given run. For our first 2 runs, we saw just a maximum of 2, and we did hunt them down in our second run, less so in the first run. But there are at least 4, if not more here. Now, in some cases, they might be in diverging paths, but no, you can definitely go 1, 2, and 3. The other thing is that is the second to last encounter, if you go that route, and the only thing in between this and the final boss would be a single event, which we had not had the most luck with in the past. So that feels like that is really asking for trouble there. So we might not go that route. Then again, we also saw last time that, oddly enough, the normal battles, at least toward the end, were more difficult than the elite battles, which was odd. But, okay, so what are we thinking early here? I'm thinking treasure chest obviously is going first. It's going to be a battle, I guess we go northernmost side. We could do an event, but I'm thinking battle, place power, battle, battle, event. I mean, at that point, we don't need to be that decisive just yet. We can adjust as we proceed. So let's go for the treasure first. Oh, right. We have first battle. I always forget. There is always a battle at the very beginning. Have we seen the Beastmaster? I'm not sure that we have. What's his deal? Spawn a Rabbit Warg on an allied row. Cooldown 2. So he's doing that every other turn. It doesn't say his difficulty. We've seen that some enemies say hard, but it's just like you're either a hard enemy or you're not. Maybe. Okay, so it's basically just spawning in a 2-power unit every other turn for a total of, or on average, 1 point per turn. It's not a huge factor. It does perhaps suggest that this guy is going to go wide, meaning he's going to get a lot of small cards and find ways to boost his entire board, or mostly that, rather than having one big unit. Okay, we did draw into Visigoda. That's great. He is our key card, of course. We'd want to make sure that we keep him safe, because at 5 power, he's still a little bit vulnerable. We have Temerian Drummer, which can help make that happen. As could Stannis. Stannis is a good finisher. Temerian Drummer we want to play early along with Visigoda. The recruits are not that strong, so let's dump one of them. One-Eyed Bessie does not synergize all that well, so let's swap you out. Okay, lots of boosts here, and good, we did get a target for the boost with the Eternian Mauler. So that's definitely something we want to see. So let's start with Visigoda, and then I think we will probably use the Cleanse to make sure that he at least is unlikely to get immediately destroyed. Not impossible, but unlikely. The other thing that we noticed in between our first run and our second run, which did, in some ways, certainly increase the difficulty. Damage allied unit by 2. That is a good card to finish off with, or start off with, I should say, because that means you don't have anything to damage, so it's just an 8-point body. Ooh, I like Vermon right now to give us an additional Temerian Drummer. Yeah, we saw that, actually... might do a little bit of boosting here as well. I know, technically speaking, the most efficient use of our boost would be on the Mauler, but just to keep this engine safe, be nice to do. We saw that in between our first and second runs that Liliana, well, is no longer with us. So that was a little bit of a handicap, or rather a little bit of a boost that we had in the first run, because she was giving us, what, the ability to play an additional card from our graveyard every match, and every time we played a spell, gave us a boost on one of our units. So that, it's hard to say exactly how much a difference that made, but it did certainly do something. So that is something to bear in mind, is that arguably should have, yeah, we should get Adurnian Mauler down here fairly soon. If they have damage, at least a little bit of it.
I'm no mere huntress. I'm a predator.
Okay. And, I mean, we could proceed to use Sumerian Drummer here as well to boost up this Sumerian Drummer. Keep it a little bit safer, use some Visigoda boosts. Of course, they have Etriel, which means they probably have Mirlega. They might not have it in hand, but that's 3 damage to multiple cards. I mean, it's not enough for taking out Sumerian Drummer. Probably next turn we're looking at the Mauler. Okay, that's more damage, so yeah. There are little bits of damage here and there. No, that's not going to be enough to take out Visigoda. Ooh. Now we have 2 targets. 2 nice targets for receiving the boost. Actually, well, I didn't even realize I got another Adurnian Mauler. Okay, we have lots of targets for the boost in that case. So, I mean, Visigoda is probably fine at 10 points now, so we can definitely put someone here. They are wide. Generally, again, meaning lots of small units, not a lot of big units. Generally speaking, that means Temeri, or rather, Trident Infantry is better at dealing with that. Adurnian Mauler is better at getting rid of 1 big unit, because this is 1 big chunk of damage, and if it gets up to 20 damage, and the highest unit they have is 8, then that's a lot of overkill, whereas Trident Infantry, we don't have to worry about overkill, because he's always going to hit another unit whenever he gets boosted up. So, I think that means he is a slightly better fit here, and if we can get rid of some of the little guys, that'd be nice, in case they are going to do some kind of boost that hits a bunch of their cards. Gonna consume something. They don't. Oh, they do have some Death Wish. Okay. Yep. That also spawns in 1 power unit. So, yep. Just as we expected to see here, I think. Now, we could go recruit and boost Trident Infantry, and then potentially in the process end up boosting up these guys, but I think that's probably overkill. Or, you know, we just like to get these guys down as quickly as possible to benefit from the Temerian Drummers. Now, granted, the damage on Trident Infantry is random, so we can't guarantee that we're going to hit stuff there as Mirlega, as expected. Should hit you. Yeah, that's really the only thing that they... Well, I mean, they could almost get rid of Temerian Drummer here. So we could, if we are concerned about this, we could hop in with a Zoltan, boost these guys up, or, I mean, a Adurnian Mauler. Of course, the earlier the better.
Could have settled this amicably, you know.
Boost you up just a bit. I mean, you're on cooldown. Probably gonna have more damage on their next play, though. So yeah, we would like to get rid of more of these 1-power cards so that when they do boost their entire board, which they are probably very close to doing, it's not as effective. But we have not done so well with that on Trident Infantry thus far. I mean, we could, if we boost you up a little bit with someone like Stennis or Recruit, then we could potentially get rid of the Brockbar Hunter, which shuts down a little bit of their damage. So maybe we go Stennis actually range row here, so we have so many targets we want for our boost.
You stand before royal majesty.
And now it gets you into removal range. So it gets rid of a unit, and it gets rid of some of their damage, which is certainly nice. And we can do this. And we really would prefer to hit the 1-power guys. And that's only 1 damage, so I mean, we could destroy one of them, but we like to try, at least in this case, to get a little more value out of that. There's one of the 1-powers done. Okay, Toad Prince can eat one of our cards, and yes, it eats the Temerian Drummer. Fortunately, the one that was boosting up this Adurnian Mauler, and this guy had already used his order ability, so of all the Temerian Drummers to eat, that one was, in many ways, the least valuable to us. Now let's go Recruit. And with that Recruit, let's boost you up.
54.
Now you're at 5 damage, which, not a great target for that unless we use Visigoda on you, and then you could take out the Toad Prince. That's something. I mean, that's not really a rush, so I think we just do this and again, we're trying to hit the one powers, and just remove them, because I imagine it's either this turn and the next turn, or... Okay, Sarah, that is immediately a card we want to destroy. Because what this does is on their next turn, it's going to get boosted by 10. So it starts really small, but then it gets to become a very big unit. So this is our chance to go after it. Now, that could mean a simple Thunder. That's, of course, going to cost us some energy to make that happen. But we have the damage here. It's a little overkill. That doesn't require energy, though. We could use Zoltan and boost up Trident of Infantry if that happens to hit, and then we get Visigoda charge on Trident of Infantry that happens to hit, and or Tiberian Drummer boost happens to hit you. I mean, that's obviously extremely unlikely, but yeah, maybe we just guarantee it here. Okay. Then we play Zoltan, and is there even anything bigger for you to target? I mean, we could get you up to the point where you can destroy the Solano Harpy, which I suppose is worth doing.
Damn the horse sons!
Then use these charges. Yeah, so we did not destroy as many of their cards as we would have liked, because I think this card is going to boost all their units. Even if it does, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have a big enough fleet here that I don't think that's too much of a concern. We got rid of one of them. Boost self by every beast. So yep, I mean, rather than boosting all their beasts, they got boosted from all their beasts. Same general idea, still hold on for the win. Pretty sure that's our first time having faced the Beastmaster, and I suppose the name was fitting after all. Let's add a card to the deck. And Nekker does work well with the boosting-centric stuff. Whereas Virginian Archer is damage, slightly higher base power, but still not as good of a card, generally speaking. And War Elephants boosts itself, but it does require that we damage our own units to do so, which is a little bit odd, so I think we still go Nekker. So that's a pretty good pickup. And it costs us a little bit of energy to do that, but not too much, so shouldn't be too much of a handicap. Now, I think we go Treasure, Battle, and probably this Place of Power is next on the list. Let's see. What do we get this time? Okay, Ancient Golem Dormant was really good for us in the previous run, for what it's worth. Because for the first encounter in which we had it, it was 0 power for most of it, but then from then onward, the rest of the run, it was, what, like 13 power immune unit, which is nice. Pitfighter is a pretty recent addition in terms of unlocks. Starts off at 5 power, starts in her hand, but the more battles that we complete, it upgrades itself by 3 or by 6 when we defeat an elite enemy. So if we get it early and deliberately go into a bunch of battles, then it could become a really nice card as well. So the high-end potential is probably better than with the Ancient Golem. They both this technically automatically starts on the board, this automatically starts in her hand. That's a little bit better, because this is a quote-unquote free 13 power, whereas this comes with an opportunity cost. Yes, it's a high amount of power, but, or at least once it gets upgraded, it's a high amount of power. At the beginning, it's actually quite weak. But, and we'll probably want to mulligan it, actually, in the first few encounters until it gets powered up. But because you're playing it from hand, that means that it's still going to be one of the, 8 or so cards that you play over the course of a match, whereas this one, you don't have to play it. So that's what I mean when I say it's basically a free, air quotes, 13 points. So in that way, I mean, I am intrigued by the Pit Fighter, but I feel like I might still think that Dormant is a little bit, the Ancient Golem Dormant is slightly better. And then the Giant Slayer is actually surprisingly good as well. Destroy the highest power enemy unit. A little bit of a dice roll there. Depends. Some decks, like the one that our opponent was just using, if we got it at the very end, then we could destroy that huge point slam finisher that they had. But anything before that, we would have been destroying, like a 6 power card at most, and that's not very impressive. Certainly not compared to these. So I think we still go with the Ancient Golem Dormant. I think it's the safe option for sure, but I do like it a lot. Okay, now it doesn't matter much, which actually this way gives us 2 choices. We can either go Place Power or another battle, Whereas if we go this way, it's only place power, so why not go here? Okay, definitely have not seen this guy before. Transform a random allied unit into a random one. Okay. Totally random, in other words. That's cool. Hard to play around, hard to predict, but still, should be fun. Visigoda, another good thing to draw into him. Nekker gives us more boost. Now, Visigoda you want to play early so you maximize the number of charges he gains. Whereas Nekker, it's always 4 and you can use them all immediately. So she's a much better finisher, or at least late round play. Whereas Visigoda you want to play early. Same with Temerian Drummer. Zoltan, finishing booster. Eternity Mauler is currently the target of our boost. I mean, this can work. This can work. The tricky thing about this that I'm anticipating is that they can transform it will always be a random allied unit. So if we weaken one of their units, damage it a bit, then if that gets transformed, it's no longer going to be damaged, it's just going to turn into whatever the new card is. So if we can destroy a card altogether, great. However, if we damage one, they could completely remove our damage when they transform that card into something else. So I think that Eternian Mauler is probably a better target of our boost than a Trident of Infantry would be in this occasion. So I think this is probably a pretty good mix for us. Okay, and One-Eyed Betsy gives us some more damage as well. So I think we saw that in our previous run, this did eventually transform into its unit form in the first match. Now, I don't know, maybe it's a range of time that it takes before it transforms. When we got lucky last time, it happened early, and we might go several matches before it transforms. This time around, not sure. But I think either way, we're probably going to want to go Visigoda, and once again, he's important enough that I think it is worth putting a little bit of a boost on him, even if it costs us a little bit of energy. Okay, and what are they doing? That's going to be a weather effect, presumably in this row with Visigoda in it. Frost is going to hit the highest unit by 2 every turn, which, obviously, when Visigoda is the only card in that row, it's, by definition, going to be Visigoda. However, if we go Ramon into a second Temerian Drummer, that'd be nice. Potentially could even justify a second Eternian Mauler. But I think we do this. And we're going to try to load up... Actually are going to load up in this row, even though it has the row effect in it. Because we want to try. But we could use Visigoda to... Let's see, that'll get you up to 6 with the Temerian Drummer boost. So if we do one more, you'll be the highest card who have armor, so that means that the Frost is not really going to do much of anything. So that's why doing it here, because we want to make sure that Visigoda is safe. Even if usually you would deliberately avoid a row effect. In this case, we're trying to avoid the row effect, targeting the specific card that we want to save. That was an interesting one. So yes, they transformed a card. It was a card that spawned in some drones, but then they... Does it show up in their graveyard when they transform it? No. But then it turned into Svalwood Priest, which actually, ooh. There is a synergy here. It's going to damage you and boost itself, and when this loses its armor, it will no longer boost itself every turn, but it will damage our highest card by 3. So that means Ramon is going to be taking a lot of damage here. Get another Temerian Drummer. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we can just load up on non-stop boosts in that case. And we're going to see how long we can wait on Visigoda, because our preferred target would, of course, be the Mauler. So if we're not trying to make a point of just keeping cards alive, then that is our preferred choice. Okay, that's not a great card. Assuming it's the same as in multiplayer, it just spawns in a bunch of things. Oh, wait, what? And boost up by the number of units in this row, is that what that... Okay, no, there were a lot of units in that row, so that actually turned out reasonably well for them. Okay, now we get a Trident of Infantry, which is another potential target for our boost. And Visigoda was the highest card on that turn, so it actually did get hit by some of their damage. But, as we were saying before, not a huge fan of Trident of Infantry, because it could, if it damages but not destroys a card, then that could mean that they're just going to transform it into something else, and our damage is mitigated, and so it's not really giving us the value we want to get. We do still have another Temerian Drummer, which we have yet to play. Of course, we'd like to get an Endurning Mauler boosted every turn as well at this point, or Trident Infantry, but as we just said, it's not quite as good. I think we still do this, though.
Left, right, left.
Remember that Visigoda cannot boost himself. We no longer have Frost going on in this row, so there's no more row effects. I think we still try to save those boosts on Visigoda. He's going to get up to 5 at least. He's no longer the highest card, so if they are going to damage the highest card, then he's not as vulnerable, but Jermaine, I mean, they're getting tons of ways to spawn in a bunch of units here. And I guess that is the idea, is basically just get as many units on the board as possible, a bunch of weak units like 1-powered cows, and then transform, ideally, those weak units into something much better. Alright, I guess I'll say it. Remember what I said earlier? That I was planning on doing a totally RNG run, in which we just totally roll the dice and see if we happen to get really good stuff? This is pretty much exactly what I had planned. It was going to be take the spell that spawns in 4 1-power rats, and also take the spell that transforms one of our units into a random unit. And that's basically exactly what this guy is doing. So I'm curious to see how it plays out. Obviously, it could go amazingly well for you or terribly. In our case, if we were to do it, we could deliberately target which card that we're transforming. In this case, it's random. So, they might end up transforming this 10-power unit or this 10-power unit, and then they're potentially losing points, whereas if they transform that 1-power cow, they're almost certainly going to gain points. So, more targets for that. I mean, we do have a lot of Temerian Drummers, so actually, it's not a terrible thing that we get more recipients, or desired recipients of the boost. We're going to run out of space in this range row kind of soon, though. So, I think now, let's put you here. So on one hand, we don't really want to destroy this 10-power unit because if they transform that, that's great. That means that they're losing a bunch of value. So, yeah, I tell you what, maybe we do like Trident Infantry here, because what we want is to get rid of all the little ones so that those don't get transformed and force them into transforming, or at least increase the likelihood of them transforming the big ones like this Volvid Priest, like Doedric, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, Trident Infantry, the damage is random, but because he can hit multiple enemies whenever he gets, with lots of boosts, he can hit multiple enemies, whereas Eternian Mauler at most hits just one. That's where this is maybe not as effective as I was giving it credit for. Okay, that is damage. Oh, it's going to be on Visigoda, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, well, that stinks. Punished for our greed. And, we kind of deserve it for waiting as long as we did. And, of course, it would have been probably on our next turn, or at least as soon as we played Trident Infantry, that we were going to use Visigoda. So, yeah, not great. Yeah, so, don't hit that. Hit that, please. Going after the Eternian Mauler, which is, yeah, not a bad idea. Yeah, they transformed this into Drog, which is not bad. It's at least worth some points here. Now, we have some ground to make up here. And I think we might need to invest kind of heavily at this point, because after losing Visigoda, that was going to be our big setup, and we lost our big setup. Cure Mess does give us boosts. Give vitality to all units on this row for duration equal to all units on this row. That is way more powerful than her multiplayer version. In her multiplayer version, she only does it to adjacent units, but every unit on that row, especially when we have a ton of units on this row, I would absolutely go for this. Yes. No question. Put someone over here so that this guy is still giving boosts. Look at that. We have, I think we're going to have enough time for all those trigger. So that's what? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, plus the 5 points on her. So 29-point play. Yeah, I think that's worth it. I think that's probably worth it. Now, technically, if we had played, so we've not yet played the card that we were going to play on this turn. If we'd done that earlier, it would have been slightly more value. Then again, we didn't know that was going to be the case. So we actually would like for you to be here.
When I do the tenderizing, there's nothing left to fry.
Okay, that's also damage. And they went after one of the Temerian Drummers. Okay. So now we have boosts, which we can use on Trident Infantry. We have more boosts we can get from Zoltan. We have One-Eyed Betsy is damage. 4 damage. We could destroy this Thrive unit, which is something that Botchling is giving them some value every turn. If we use this Eternian Mauler, 1 damage gets you down to a 4, then we can remove you with One-Eyed Betsy. It's not as great of an Eternian Mauler play as we would like. If we wait longer, we can make it better, but then again, there's not much time left in this round. So maybe that is what we're looking for here. And are going to want to make sure we have room for Zoltan in this row. You don't matter where you are. You don't matter where you are. In Gwent multiplayer, this is row locked to the range row, so it's part of the reason why I'm hesitating here. But yeah, we should still be okay with playing you pretty much wherever. In case we have to play a portal here, which we might want to do. Gonna keep a little more space here in this row, because right now, yes, we are still behind, but we do still have all this vitality that we're going to continue to gain a little more value out of. So I think in order to give ourselves a little bit of a better chance here, it's close. Let's get a little more aggressive with this portal. And, I mean, now Kira is actually nowhere near as good as she was previously, because vitality can only boost you once per turn. Like, we might have 3 vitality here, but it still takes 3 turns for us to benefit from this. So if we get another Kira, then that is going to be, what, 4 more vitality on basically everyone here, except we aren't going to have enough time for us to receive any of those boosts at all. So she is functionally just a 5-point body in this case, which is not great. And Draga Larva is a good early round play with that Thrive, and getting another copy of itself out there means functionally 2 boosts per turn. Monroe. Transform cards into Berserkers, which are cards that have 3 power, but deal 1 damage every turn. Also, cards that you'd like to have out there early. So these are all things that earlier in the round would have been very nice, but at this point, not really as much the case. And your 6-point body, which is possibly the tiebreaker here. And Draga Larva, how many more turns are we going to have to trigger the Thrive? Probably 2, maybe more if we go with another portal, though I'd rather not have to do that. So you're probably going to turn to what? You're 4 now, then 6 next turn, 8 the next turn. Can we do better than 8 on you? And if we play Kira in this row, then she's a... what? 5, 6, 7. So she... and Draga Larva definitely better than Kira. Are you any better, though? 6-point body. Probably... just don't have anything good to transform. I'm pretty sure we're going to lose the vitality if we transform any of you. To transform Betsy, lose 1 point in the process, but gain enough time for 3 turns of damage, I think. Which means that's a positive 2, so that's functionally 8 points. And positive 1 if we transform Kira as well. So that is still the right choice, I think.
What do you say we fight on my level, eh?
Definitely an awkward choice. Awkward play there, because we would have liked to have had any of those cards early in the round would have been great. But not as much anymore. 2 damage, I mean, could destroy. And I think we actually probably should destroy this card here, because again, they're going to transform something on their next turn, and this is their best choice to transform, so we'd want to remove that, so they're forced into transforming something that is more significant, and they have a better chance of just failing miserably with that transformation. We have a little more damage now with these guys, and then again, with the transformations, they can potentially mitigate that damage. So yeah, spawning in a bunch of cards, again, looking for these to be the recipients of the transformations. Now, we can either go Zoltan, and he doesn't really have great targets to boost anymore. I mean, yes, Trident Infantry does work, but the bigger boost is better on the Eternian Mauler, which, at this point, since he's already used his order ability, that's not really a factor. So, I guess it's here, but Nekker is also something that we're going to use all those charges on Trident Infantry, and we're looking to get rid of some of these drones. Hopefully. Maybe we emphasize that a little bit earlier. No, hit the big ones, or rather hit the little ones like that. Yes, that's what we want to see. Okay, so we got rid of some of them at least. And I haven't been paying close enough attention to see how consistently they are converting the weaker cards. Like, is it truly random, or are they actually doing the smart thing and transforming the weaker cards every turn? I haven't really seen. Like, this Wyvern has been on the lower end, and it has not gotten converted yet. Then again, it does have Thrives. There is potentially still some value to be had from that. So the problem is, yes, we have a 6-point lead here. We're going to still get boosted a little bit from our Vitality and from our Sumerian Drummers, but they have one more card than we do right now. So it is a risky thing at this point, and we might still want to go a little bit further here. And maybe we do confirm, do guarantee that we get rid of the Wyvern with an Elzer's Thunder. Get a little more points. Get rid of one of their weaker cards. It's not their single weakest card, but felt like that'd probably not be the best use of our energy to destroy one of these guys. And so, you know, it could have gotten boosted with the Thrive proc on their next turn. We did get rid of one of the other ones. That's good. Okay, I don't think that's really going to be all that effective. Dealt a little bit of damage to us. Did they just transform a card into the same card? I mean, either way, it didn't do much. So they did not transform this. That was good. That was good. We love if they transform this. Now we have a much bigger lead, so that's comforting. And I suppose they could always get extremely lucky with this, but feeling much better about it now. We'll go Zoltan, and we'll put him here so that Prime Infantry gets 1 more point of damage. We'll get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boosts and 1 extra damage from this boost on Trident Infantry. So it's looking decent. I don't think we need to use that energy anymore. Unless they get super lucky on their last play here. Purify, deal 4 damage, not a huge factor. So it's a weird one, for sure, and we probably spent more energy than I would like to have had to have spent, but did look like we were at risk there a little bit for a while, so still emerged victorious. That's what matters, at least in the short term. Let's add to our deck, still early on, and, ooh. So we've seen the Flaminica before. She does healing, which is a little bit of a mixed bag because we don't damage ourselves. We'd be relying on our opponents to damage us, and that's the only way we'd get value from the Flaminica other than her 7-point body, which is something. But we do have Stennis, and he does give us boosts, and he has 1 higher base power than usual as well, so that is something. We also have Egmont, which is, I'm not sure we've seen him before, but he is a boosting card. We've seen our opponents use him at one point in time, I think, where at the end of our turn, he will boost the unit to the right by 1, just like a Temerian Drummer. However, he also has this ability where we can use his order to deal 3 damage to our opponent. So it's a nice mixture of, yes, we can boost, but we can also deal damage. So more flexible in that way. And once we use that order ability, then he's no longer doing the boost. So ideally, you boost up early on, like you would with a Temerian Drummer, and then near the end, or when you see an opposing card that you really need to get rid of, that's when you break out the damage. So I think he would be a nice addition. Is he better than Stennis? I think he might be. It's another early round card, and we have a lot of early round cards in this deck, but because he has the damage as well, we're more willing to play him late if we need to than we would, say, Temerian Drummer. Okay, so here's the thing. We can immediately go to get the energy restoration at this place power, or maybe we're feeling okay with 51. But then we have 2 battles immediately after that, no way around them. Whereas if we go this way, immediately we get another battle, yes, but then with a little more time afterward, with an event, place of power of some variety, then we go into another battle. This one's a little less battle-centric, even if it means we're going to another battle next. So I think I might prefer this. Okay, we've seen Gladiator. That doesn't mean I remember what he does, but we've definitely seen him before. Damage an allied unit by 2 and enemy units by 2, then give a shield. Okay, he's super shield-centric. Yes. Now I remember. We're doing a really good job of drawing to Visigoda, which is nice. We have him. This is our starting Stennis, not our empowered one that we just picked up. We have Ramon, which we can use to create another Temerian Drummer. We want to have a recipient of our boost, and there it is. So this is pretty well balanced here. I think we probably stick with this. And our Ancient Golem has not yet transformed, so I think, yes, we have confirmed that it varies from time to time, run to run, how long it takes for him to transform. And last time we got really lucky with how quickly he transformed, because it happened in our first match with him. Didn't happen with our first match last time, but hopefully he's going to transform soon. So let's... I mean, we want to go Visigoda first, right? Damage an allied unit by 2 and enemy units by 2. So they do have damage from this. So once again, I mean, it's probably, you know how it goes.
Sometimes the price is too damn high.
Visigoda, boost him up, especially because we know they have at least some damage. So that should help him be a little bit safer. Okay, that's, at least initially, purely boosts. But we've seen it a lot of times. Oh yeah, and when they damage it, it'll deal damage to us. And good thing that we did, I'm almost certain this is exactly what happened the previous time we played against the Gladiator. Was we played Visigoda, we used Cleanse, we saw this happen on a Ordaining Knight, and we survived by 3 power, and we said, oh, good thing we used Cleanse, otherwise it wouldn't have worked. Well, now, this is every other turn, right? Yes, they can't do it again on their next turn. This is now no longer going to get boosted, which is also nice. So I think at this point, we're looking at Ramon into Temerian Drummer. And let's go make sure that Visigoda is getting boosted so that he's a little bit safer. Now, we did see in the previous encounter, yeah, actually, what made the previous encounter more difficult than it had to be was they got rid of Visigoda before we got the chance to use most of his boosts. So let's make sure we at least get some out here, in case he does still get answered quickly. Of course, ideally, we're saving most of them for our desired boost recipients, like Adurnian Mauler. Oh, the shields. Shields are potentially going to counter the Adurnian Mauler very well, because he can only deal damage once, and so if the target we're trying to hit has a shield, then he's worth 0 on that, but we have 2 of them, and we have more ways to do the boosting. So let's go here, and I think again, we're going to try to keep Visigoda relatively safe here, because we know they're going to damage on their next turn, and if they have another, something like a Ordaining Knight, then that could be kind of painful. Now, our highest unit is now Temerian Drummer, and that has armor, so if it were exactly the Ordaining Knight play that they did turn 1, then it's not as powerful as it would have been on our first turn. So just do that a little bit to keep you a little bit safer. So I think on this occasion, it's K20 Cavalry, which gets boosted when it loses its shield, so it's probably about to lose its shield. Okay, this is more of the card we're looking for, because Temerian, or rather, Trident Infantry, every time it deals damage, deals damage in spurts of just 1. So that means we can get rid of the shield without having to waste a huge damaging order ability, and then every subsequent boost actually deals damage past that shield, so this is the card we've been waiting for. And let's see. Problem with you is when you lose your shield, you get boosted. So if we are going to remove your shield, we want to get rid of you quickly. And so if we boost up Trident Infantry, we might be able to get rid of your shield on this turn, but we probably would not be able to destroy you on this turn unless we follow up with the Thunder, which I'm not really sure we want to do. So technically speaking, if we could wait another turn before we say get an Adurnian Mauler out here and have this be... This is the thing that removes the shield. This is the thing that deals a whole bunch of damage once the shield is gone. Is probably the preferred way to do it. We also do have a burst of 3 damage from Egmont, as we were saying before. That's what he's useful for. But it's still not enough to get rid of this K20 Cavalry. Certainly not once it gets boosted by 2 when it loses its shield. So for that reason, already played our card on this turn, right? Yeah. I think we're still going to pass on the Visigoda boost on Trident Infantry for now. Now that random damage might end up hitting you, but we'll have to see. It does. And they're going to give more shields. So yeah, this is... One would think that's going to be their engine of choice. Does certainly seem that way. So now, since it doesn't have a shield, we would want to have an Adurnian Mauler on the board, and we want to have it able to use its ability immediately, which is obviously not the case right now, which is unfortunate. If we could somehow get Zeal on this, that'd be perfect, but we can't. So, I mean, I think we still get you down now.
Could have settled this amicably, you know.
And I think we're saving these boosts for you. Or we just start pouring them on right now. They're probably going to target this. Possibly with the Knight Errants as well. Who do they go after? No, they go after Trident Infantry. Okay. We prefer that, to be honest. So now... do have your shield back, though, and that's a problem. So trying to make the tree was the best way to make sure that that shield stayed down. I mean, then again, we could just try to purely outboost you and ignore the fact that this is getting big because we can get bigger cards than that. So maybe we're fine with that. In which case, it's either Eternian Mauler or it's the other Temerian Drummer. And given how we've just realized that our damage is not the easiest thing to benefit from all that much, I think we do prioritize the boosts here.
Again and again and
I mean, we'll still load up on the boost on you. But right now it's 7 points. Like, we could just destroy this Artificer for pure points and not worry about removing any engines. Have a shield, give a unit a shield.
I'll show you.
Okay. Now we'd like to get you down. And do this.
Smile, you blooded gip.
And I think we want to spread the boost now a little bit, because at 8 damage, this might be overkill. I mean, we could just go after you right now. Slightly overkill already, but we could use Eggman to destroy that, but we want to try to delay Eggman's damage as much as possible to maximize the boost from him. So I think we just do that. And that's why, you know, even if this gets to be pretty big, still 20-point lead at the moment. Okay. So we should recruit, because those will give us some hand boosts as well. So we do this, and we use it on you. So we would still like to see a relatively big unshielded card for us to hit with you. Kind of waiting for that to show up here. We could always remove the shield with the Thunder, rather not have to do that. Might eventually be enough, if this gets boosted a lot, for us to even go after the cavalry that way. My biggest fear, and I think... Okay, now the Awakened Golem comes out. That's good. They're trying to get Visigoda. He's, in many ways, already done his job here. He's given us most of the boosts that he was going to be able to give us.
101, 102, 103.
So 10 points of damage. Remember that once we remove the shield, this is going to become a 12. So it's still not enough, even if we were to use Thunder, unless we also followed that up with an Eggman damage play. It would cost us some energy to do that. Now, we don't have enough sources of damage to make that happen unless we use Thunder. So, you know, is that worth doing? My biggest fear here, and I'm pretty sure I said this last time we faced the Gladiator, was there is a card, at least in multiplayer, King Ragnar, that destroys all shields on the floor, or on the board, and boosts that card based on how many shields it removes. And it's 3 boosts per shield in multiplayer, which, I mean, it's not that many shields out there right now, but it would still give them a really solid finisher. And it is one of the biggest finishers in Gwent multiplayer for that reason. So even though we have a solid lead here, that is my biggest fear, is that they're going to surprise us with a really, really strong last card. So maybe for that reason, it is worth getting rid of you. We are being pretty aggressive on the energy early on, more so than I'd like for us to be. But now we've basically said, oh, I wish we had slightly more boosts on you. But no, we still need to go 3 plus 11 to remove you. Because if we wait a turn, then you're going to get boosted up again, or the shield's going to come back on. So now we have a big enough lead that even if they do have that big finisher, I think we're going to be okay. They did get rid of Visigoda, but at this point, there's not really much else who's going to be able to do. At most, give us 1 more boost, and we've already used our boosting, or our order abilities to get powered up from our boost, so it's not a huge deal. I think at this point, Stennis, we would have otherwise gone melee row and maximized the boost on one of these maulers, but I think instead we'll just split our boost a little bit more
I'm not afraid. Fear is a commoner's trait.
across our cards. And at a over 50-point lead here, I think it is Ragnar, exactly the card that I was saying. So he is going to be a big point slam, but I think we still have enough here. Yeah. Okay. Nice. So we've definitely beaten the Gladiator before, but we'll take him out again here. And I suppose we'll still try to add. And, some interesting choices. We have Radovit's Royal Guards, which are much stronger than usual with their base power, though this is not usually a great card. Boost an ally by 3, give it 3 armor. If it is boosted, which we can make it happen. If we play him in the range row, if we play him in the melee row, then he can use that ability immediately, but we're not going to get that 3 additional armor. So, I mean, it can be a finisher, which we are lacking a little bit. But then we have Witch Apprentice, which we did see in our previous run and was actually very good for us. When we have 25 or more power, it gets boosted by 2. And if you combine that with Ramon, then that can be amazing. It has 1 higher power than usual, which makes it that much easier to get up to 25 power more quickly. And then Dandelion Poet is also really strong because, sure, he's only 5 power, but he gets us to draw into another card and play another card in 1 turn. So, way to get a lot of points on the board quickly and thin out our deck so that if, say, one of our best cards is hanging out in our deck, we don't have it, and we might not have access to it if we've already drawn all of our cards in a match. It's a way of just increasing the likelihood that we get our most important cards like Visigoda, for example. So I think we probably still go for him. Alright. Then we're looking at this event here. So let's check it out now. As I've said previously, I'm pretty sure these events are, I would think, more often than not supposed to be positive. But at this point, we've had, I don't know, at least 2/3 of the time our events have been negative. Maybe we've just been really not lucking out. But I don't know. We'll see this time. What is it here? A mysterious spring. It looks positive. In a secluded spring, water flows from the gnarled roots of an old tree. Upon seeing the pool, your mouth and throat dry, and you realize that you're rather parched. I'm rather parched right now. I could use a drink of water or so. Let's see. The spring looks especially thirst-quenching, yet you sense a magical aura surrounding the water. Should you take a sip anyway? Okay, we can drink and transform a card, or leave. Now, do we get to choose which card we transform? Because if so, then we can transform one of our weakest cards and likely get an upgrade. If it's going to be a random card, then we might lose one of our better cards and possibly get something worse in exchange. I mean, I think it's worth giving it a shot, though, right? We do get to choose. Select 1 card, okay. So I think the Recruit is probably our weakest card here. Yeah, let's swap you out. And what do we get? Let's see. You cup the water into your hands and drink. It tastes delicious, like no water you've ever had before. Although you've quenched your initial thirst, you want to drink more. You gain Drawn. Okay, definitely an upgrade. We can stop and lose 5 energy, or we can transform another card. Wow, I'm surprised that it is, it's leaving that costs us energy. I would have thought that it's like, well, I mean, you can potentially benefit more from transforming cards, but it's going to cost you. I mean, if we can transform another one of those Recruits, then we'll definitely take it. And what do we get this time? You feel your energy being sapped, yet you... Oh, I see what it is. You feel your energy being sapped, yet you are compelled to drink more. It's almost impossible to resist. I see what it is. So it's not so much that we're getting penalized for leaving, as much as it's the longer we stay, we are eventually going to need to leave and lose energy in the process. However, we can continue to stay and transform more cards at the cost of 5 more energy, but eventually, this number is going to keep on getting higher, and at the end, we're going to lose, what, like 15 if we transform another? Then we have now transformed our 2 weakest cards. So this might be the right time to abandon ship, because if we are to transform something, I think we're now looking at transforming what is a pretty solid card. Now, it could potentially still be an upgrade, like, but I'm not necessarily sure at this point that it makes much sense to do that. So I think it's at least less valuable. So I think we leave now. Mustering sheer willpower from deep within, you come to your senses and force yourself to stop. That's enough mysterious magical water for today, you affirm, getting as far away from the spring as possible before the thirst returns. Alright. That does sap quite a bit of our energy, but then again, we do have a place of power coming up of some variety immediately after this, so we can restore... How much did we spend? Was it 10 or 15 energy to do that? And so we can, on net, get more energy back than we spent, and the cost was transforming some cards. Now, one of the places of power transforms a card. I think you get to choose which card it is. That doesn't cost any energy, but you can only do it 1 at a time, whereas we just did 2 in 1 encounter, so, you know, which one is better? I guess it kind of depends. We transformed more quickly, but at a steeper cost, whereas doing the transformation at a place of power is slower, but does not come with that same cost. So we'll probably look to restore energy at one of these, and is there any real obvious preference in terms of which direction we go? Either way, it's battle next, likely followed by events, although if we go the southern route, we could go place of power after that, which might be nice. That might be what we want to do here. We might want to go the southern route now. That does mean that we are dodging basically all of the elite battles, which was not necessarily my intention, although I think we had said previously that because those are all quite close to the final encounter, that maybe that's not a bad thing, because early elite battle's kind of nice. So you have plenty of time to restore your energy on your way over to the final boss, but if they're right before the final boss, then you're spending all your energy and probably don't have time to restore it before the final boss, so it's probably still a good thing. So let's go... where are we now? We're here. I think we just said southern route is probably preferable, so that we can go down here. And this place of power is the one where we can upgrade a unit by 3 or gain 20 energy. Now, upgrading something like the piggies, the witch apprentices that we just picked up, could be useful, because again, the quicker we get to 25 power, the more quickly we can get those boosted by 2 every turn, which is a nice luxury to have. On the other hand, we have spent a lot of energy, and I think for that reason, we really do need to restore energy here. So let's do that. It's a safe choice, but we did just take a little bit of a risk in the previous encounter. So this helps make up for that a little bit. And it means that now we're looking at battle, followed by probably another place of power, battle, treasure, events, and then a few more things on our way toward the final boss. And I mean, if we're looking at, like here, we can restore some energy, battle, here we can restore energy, battle, here we can restore energy. That seems like that is a really good way to set ourselves up for the boss and just make sure that we have, hopefully, a high amount of energy for that. And we've seen in the past that these normal battles toward the end of a run can get really difficult, so hopefully that will not be the case here. But I think either way, this is a good place for us to wrap up here, so thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed the video, and next time, of course, we'll be carrying on and possibly making it all the way, fingers crossed, to the boss fight here. So I'll catch you next time.